Recording in progress.
I love Moses.
How are you? Hope you're fine. This is the Shy Yeti Show.
Okay, away you go.
Aloha.
Why have I got horns?
Oh no.
Oh, it's the Shy Life Podcast.
Oh, there's going to be some drama ahead.
All I wanted was a pie, and then I hatched out of an egg.
Okay, bring the mic over. He's ready to record.
Is it metaphorical? Is it deep?
Oh, your show's getting so international, Paul.
Boy, he's not all that shy is right.
You're such a woman.
Blimey, Governor. It's the Shy Life Podcast.
Oh my goodness.
Hello, Paul.
I don't know how he's done it.
Excellent.
850. Bonjour et bienvenue au podcast The Shy.
Hello and welcome to yet another episode of the Shy Life Podcast with me, Paul the Shy Yeti. How you doing? I'm all right. So what's this episode going to be about? Well, it's more music, and we've got Martin Holmes back. Hi, Martin.
Hey, hello. How are you doing?
Oh, not too bad, not too bad. Are you ready to travel back to the late 70s with me?
Travelled back. There was a slow enough trudge from there in the first place, man. No, yes. Gosh, I don't have to do it again.
Oh, well.
We'll use our emotional time machine, our ethereal selves, and take ourselves back there in the mind.
Yeah, we'll be entering the 80s this time, so we've only got a little bit of sort of
troubling decade.
Yeah, well, we'll see how long it takes us to do it. But anyway, we'll run the theme music, and when we come back, we'll just finish off that little bit of 79 we didn't quite finish last time.
Dot the I's, cross the T's.
Yeah, run that theme music.
Darling, it's the Shy Life Podcast.
Every person's here.
Keep it rolling, keep it rolling.
Yeah, but it's positive season. The highlight, the Shy Life.
I'll go anywhere for a potato.
Hello, Captain. How are you?
Go Shy Yeti.
Oh my, he hasn't found out my secret. Yes, he has.
I love the NES. It's my favorite thing.
If you thought that was bad, just listen to this.
Yeah, I'm strangely drawn to Yeti Uncle John's ankles as well.
I could eat my body weight in crisps.
Has anyone seen my hot sausage?
It's all gooey and meaty. Yum, 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 yum.
Oh my goodness.
It was enormous.
I don't think I'm ready to speak about it.
Here comes the grizzly.
It's the Shy Life Podcast.
I can't wait for it to begin.
Alright, it's alright, I'm just being an alien.
I like that.
Hi there.
Marvelous. Marvelous, Paul.
I was sitting back, no, nothing, anything.
Okay, we are recording.
So, last time I think we were running out of time towards the end of 79.
I felt like that in real life. 79, we'd basically had Thatcher, and it's like everything was going down the toilet rapidly towards the end of 79. Bit of politics, yes, really.
We managed to talk about quite a lot of the bands who are doing well in 79, but there were a couple. One who isn't necessarily even completely associated with this era, and is in fact associated with many decades. And one band that's starting off relatively new at this point. The old timer who's having a bit of success again.
Engelbert Humperdinck. Oh, yes. I remember him well, you know.
Well, you know, not a million miles away, but a million more hits. We've got Cliff Richard.
Oh, yes.
We don't talk anymore.
It's funny, everybody I've ever known seems to always say their mum liked Cliff Richard, and I don't know why particularly. Was there an entire sort of world full of zombie mums who all like the same music? I don't think so. I mean, there must be mums out there of that era who didn't like Cliff Richard. There must be. I mean, it's law of averages, but yeah.
I do like quite a lot of Cliff stuff. I was kind of brought up with the 60s stuff because I think, again, my parents, it was acceptable. For that, if I was playing
acceptable face of pop music, he was a nice boy.
Yeah, and even well into the 80s, he still had some good songs like "Wired for Sound" and all that.
Yes, I like small speakers. I like tall speakers. Yeah. You like medium? It's like the Goldilocks speaker.
He even had a period where Stockade and Waterman were doing singles for him, but I definitely lost interest when you had things like when he just became known for Christmas songs or religious songs. It wasn't my cup of tea.
Well, I mean, Devil Woman's more your thing, isn't it? Really?
Oh yes, definitely. But I was just going to look at some of where he started, and I think my mum, when she was 16 or something, I think she and a friend went to see Cliff Richard in like very late 50s or very early 60s.
You see, I still get this thing that when I see an actor. And I know they're still alive. I mean, there's more and more rare these days, obviously. But then you see something they were in, and you realise it was made in 1958 or something, and they're still somehow staggering along. And you just think, how can people have careers that are that long? And then you think, but then there's Cliff, who, you know, you can watch things from the 50s, and there's Cliff, and the 60s, and now, you know, even now he'll turn up from time to time, and you know. Sing at Wimbledon or whatever, you know. It's I mean, I know that was a few years ago now as well, but you know, he's as of time of recording, he's still hanging on in there.
But he had you know, top 10 hits from the word go. You got Move It in 1958, got to number 2. High Class Baby, number 7. I don't think I'm that familiar with that one. That's when he was with the Drifters. And then there's the confusing thing, because there's a song called Livin' Lovin' Doll,
right,
which got to number 20. And then a single called Mean Streak that got to number 10. I don't recognise that one. But then there's Living Doll, which I presume is the song that we do know. I don't know if there's any connection between Living Loving Doll and Living Doll. I'm going to have to...
One he lived with and one he loved.
Yeah. I'm going to have to... Considering they both came out in the same year, you'd think there'd be some connection, but I shall have to investigate when I edit this. Living Doll got to number 1, and then Travelling Light got to number 1. Those were both in 59, and then because of course it was the arrival of the Beatles that sort of diminished his success, although he had many resurgences. But I mean,
he was popular with those titty boppers, wasn't he? And the girls in the polka dot skirts.
But he had an extraordinary run between like 60 and
very popular.
Yeah, 60 and 63. Every song, I don't think there's any single that's lower than 4. So I'll just quickly go through them. I mean, some of these I don't know, and also I think the Drifters turned into the Shadows around 1960. But so very quickly, you've got A Voice in the Wilderness, number 2, Fall in Love with You, number 2, Please Don't Tease, number 1, 9 Times Out of 10, number 3, I Love You, number 1, Theme for a Dream, number 3, Gee Whiz It's You, number 4, A Girl Like You, number 3, When the Girl in Your Arms is the Girl in Your Heart, number 3, The Young Ones, number 1, I'm Looking Out the Window, number 2, It'll Be Me, number 2, The Next Time and Bachelor Boy, double A side, number 1, Summer Holiday, number 1, Lucky Lips, number 4. It goes on. It's All in the Game, number 2. Don't Talk to Him, number 2.
And I suppose the thing was, I mean, you know, the films would have helped sell the record.
Yes.
But he did manage to become very mainstream when other music acts, you know, people like Adam Faith or whoever, you know, would sort of fall off the radar a bit. He just kept coming, and he was just there and was a constant, and became sort of part of Saturday night television, became part of Eurovision. You know, it's almost like the respectable face of pop music for, you know, a couple of decades, and then, you know, then by that stage you've become this old hand. Weirdly interesting that of all the iconic pop acts, they didn't seem to even approach him for Live Aid in '85. It does seem weird that, but then again, he'd gone a bit religious by then, and maybe that just didn't fit in, or maybe he just refused. We'll probably never know.
I can't really. I've looked in a minute. I can't really picture that. I can picture those sort of late '70s, early '80s hits, and then the later '80s hits. But I'm not quite sure what he was doing in the middle '80s, but we might find out in a minute.
He was doing Mistletoe and Wine, mate. Mistletoe and Wine is what he's doing every bloody night.
Because he did cross well into the Beatles era and still doing well. In '64, he had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 singles. All of them were in the top 10. Yeah, they're not. On the Beach is probably the most famous of them. And then in '65, he had number 1, The Minute You're Gone.
When's Summer Holiday? When's the film Summer Holiday?
I think we shot past that one when I was.
Well, it was earlier '60s than that, was it? I always thought that was mid '60s, right?
I might be wrong.
No, you're probably right. It always feels a bit more, Carnaby Street and full bright colour and all that.
1962.
Really, that early?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
His chart positions, they started to waver, but in 1965, again, you got Wind Me Up, Let Me Go, number 2, Visions, number 7 in '66, In the Country, 1966, It's All Over, number 9 in '67, The Day I Met Marie in '67, number 10, All My Love, number 6, Congratulations in '68.
That's the Eurovision one, isn't it?
The Eurovision one. Other singles that get more like in the 20s, but 1969, Big Ship makes number 8. Throw Down a Line in '69. That's number 7. Yeah, not every single is hitting the top 10. Although one of my favourites here, Goodbye Sam, Hello Samantha, 1970. That's number 6. Yeah, we are sort of suffering a little bit with. We're still making top 40, but
was the split with the Shadows relatively amicable?
I'm not 100% sure. I'm not sure whether it was also the Shadows splitting themselves a bit. He seems to be doing stuff with Hank. There's another single in '70 with Hank Marvin, so presumably whatever happened, he was still friends with him.
I just wondered, because whether they sort of, because you know how how rock bands can fall apart, but then you get the Who will reform for a one-off concert, or Simon and Garfunkel will sort of put aside their differences and do a concert in Central Park. And I just thought, Cliff and the Shadows, we never saw again, did we? We never saw them perform together.
No, not later, unless they did it just in concerts we don't know about, but not sort of on singles that I'm aware of. He was still having
Cliff and the Young Ones, wasn't it? That was in the '80s, wasn't it? Yeah, the Comic Relief thing.
Yeah, I can't remember whether they made the Shadows made any cameos in that. So even in the early '70s, when every single wasn't doing so well, he still had "Sing a Song of Freedom" number 13, "Living in Harmony" number 12, "Power to All Our Friends" number 4 in '73. Was "Power" another Eurovision song? I can't remember. Yes, it was the British entry,
the one that came second.
Yeah, and then
lots of velvet suits.
Yeah. Then You Keep Me Hanging On, which I'm trying to work out if it's the
same song.
There's a lot of people have covered it, but it doesn't. I don't think it is the same as the Supremes, because it says for that song, click this link. So that must be You Keep Me Hanging On, whereas this is Hanging On. Then we have Devil Woman in '76, Miss You Nights. And then as '70s goes on, there were gaps. I think that might be the key time when he was releasing religious music.
Didn't he say was it famously he had a number 1 in 6 decades or something? Was it or was it 5 decades? I can't remember, but he had a number 1 single in each of 6 decades, I think it was. And it is. I mean, love him or hate him, it's still quite an achievement to be able to appeal at that level for that long.
But in '79, he had the number 1 We Don't Talk Anymore, but that's also the same year as he had Carrie, which got to number 4. That was another really big song.
Did he do a duet with Olivia Newton-John? Am I remembering that? Oh, he did. Right.
Suddenly. In 1980, that was from the Xanadu soundtrack,
Mm.
number 15. And then 81, you've got Wired for Sound, Daddy's Home, number 2. I think that was pretty good.
Oh, and Time the musical. That was Cliff, wasn't it?
Yeah. I'll just have a.
That's not well.
He did a cover. He did a song with Phil Everly. She Means Nothing to Me in 1983.
Oh, Vienna. Oh no.
Yeah, I mean, he was still having hits. Yeah, we're talking about mid 80s. We're sort of talking about a period where he isn't. That is around the time of Time, the album, but the single already got to number 17. The Living Doll was 18s. Living Doll.
Living Daylights. I thought, did he do a Bond?
Living Doll with the Young Ones, and Hank Marvin was in that. Apparently, it says that was number 1. That was 86. But then
that may be the only Cliff record I ever voluntarily bought.
And then we'll finish when we get to the end of the 80s. But he had a number 3 hit with All I Ask of You with Sarah Brightman from Phantom of the Opera. That was number 3 in 86. And he has My Pretty One, Some People. We're talking about 87 now, if not.
But if you can sing and act a bit, you'd think more musicals would have come a knocking, really.
But then he had Mistletoe and Wine, number 1, The Best of Me, number 2 in 1988. I Just Don't Have the Heart, number 3. That was definitely a Stockholm Morton one. But
then it all went a bit weird.
Well, it went weird, but I'm not going to name songs, but I can see, just glancing into 1990, we have a number 10, a number 11, a number 1, a number 10, a number 7, a number 8. There are still top 10 hits in the 90s, and even 2 in the noughties. No, more than 2, 4. As of at time of
recording.
It says he had a number 1, but this was on the UK vinyl charts, which I don't think quite counts. In 2018, he was number 1 on the UK vinyl charts with Rise Up.
Right.
And
so basically, that greatest hits collection is at least a quadruple CD.
Yeah. But yeah,
should you wish to buy it,
his last proper top 10 hit or big hit was in 2008 with Thank You for a Lifetime. That got to number 3. So not so long ago.
Yeah.
Well. Now, the other band I wanted to discuss from 79, who will go into 80 probably anyway, who are a pretty big band, is The Police.
Sting and his chums.
They have 2 number 1s in late 79. They have Message in a Bottle and Walking on the Moon.
Right, actually, that's weird. I hadn't realised they were that early. I suppose, I mean, it is post-punk by now. It's 3 years post-punk, so I suppose it makes sense. It's just, I, for some reason, associate them with the 80s. Funny enough, I have one of these greatest hits Police things that I occasionally play when I'm chopping vegetables, which is my main excuse for listening to music these days. But I think the first 4 or 5 tracks, I was surprised how incredibly dark the lyrics were. Actually, if you just read the lyrics to Police songs, they are incredibly depressing.
Yeah. I am more familiar with the singles than I do have some of the albums, but I don't think I've ever spent a lot of time with them. And I actually remember actively.
I had Ghost in the Machine on vinyl a long time. I mean, I've still got it somewhere, but I think I bought that second-hand somewhere. But that was the only Police album I ever bought.
What memories I do have of the Police from the time and of these particular singles. considering I was very little, was that I did not like the Police when I was 6.
All right.
I don't know if it was. I don't know if it,
I think it's actually very interesting because if you think about suspense music in films, there are certain chords and there are certain musical instruments that make you feel downbeat, and there are certain musical instruments that make you feel upbeat. And I think if you actually listen to a lot of the Police, it's a very dour bass line that they play, and it is actually quite down. It's not Smith's down, but it's just there is a sort of melancholy to the Police, I think, and that probably you would have picked up on that.
Also quite minimal.
And maybe there's a little bit of reggae, isn't there? There's influences of reggae in there as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure. That I would have been that familiar with reggae as a genre in those being that little sort of thing.
But it just has that. I suppose the word I'm looking for is there's kind of coldness to it, and I think like I say, when you're sort of bouncing around the room as a child listening to music, you tend to go for the upbeat, jolly stuff, and that probably would have made you think, if it was on the radio, it might think, I can't quite find the beat of that, and yet very popular at the time. I find the Police one of those bands that when I put the music on, I enjoy it. But I'm not often drawn to it, if you see what I mean.
Yeah. Now, just to go back over their other hits, 1979, we're actually talking about their second album. The first album had hits, but not as high as that.
Was Roxanne on the first album?
Yes, it was. And
that seems to be the breakthrough track.
Yes and no. Yes, I guess so. But there was a single called Fallout in 1977, which I don't know at all.
No.
Then Roxanne was released but didn't seem to chart. Then Can't Stand Losing You was released and got to 42. Then So Lonely was released and that didn't seem to chart. But some of these will get reissues. Roxanne, yes. So realistically, Roxanne is the first hit, but it's after a reissue and it's about the fifth single they released. That got to number 12 in early 79. Then Can't Stand Losing You reissue gets to number 2, so that almost makes number 1 in 79. And then you've got Message in a Bottle, number 1. They try and reissue Fallout, but that still doesn't do well. Still only gets to 47. And then you've got Walking on the Moon and Bring on the Night, which is from that second album, but that doesn't seem to chart either.
No.
And then you've got So Lonely being reissued. That gets to number 6 in 80. Don't Stand So Close to Me, number 1. Da do 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 da da da, number 5, which weirdly is probably the first Police song I did never liking, but that's more harmony to that and more sort of playful.
It's interesting to me because our the youth club. I went to youth club, when I was that age, when youth clubs were the thing you went to. My mum and dad's church. There was a lad there who had, the 2 record decks, like a lot of places, and he had his box of records. And I think the Police were a large chunk of what he played. So my associations with the Police also take me back to that time of my life, which is a kind of weird time, really. But I do remember he played the Police a lot. It would also roughly been about the same time as Another One Bites the Dust. So that era of Queen from the early 80s. It's a kind of era that I just associate with certain bands, and the Police is very much of. It's sort of woven into that.
It reminded me a little bit chart-wise of the Boomtown Rats, where they had quite a lot of hits to start with, and then when it started to go wrong, it didn't go completely wrong, but it started to unravel. You could see why they might have wanted to call it a day. I'm sure the albums were still selling well, but you've got, the difference between how they're doing in 81 or even 82 compared to how they're doing in 83 is quite dramatic.
I'd see the parallels being more like the Jam, but the Jam went out on an absolute monster high, but it was the same kind of length of time and the same kind of, there were 3 of them, and one of them went on to have massive career.
Yeah, because in 81 they have a number 2 with Invisible Sun. Every little thing she does is magic. Number 1.
Oh, I liked Invisible Sun. That was a good.
Yeah. Spirits in the Material World only got to number 12, but Every Breath You Take in 83, number 1. But then Wrapped Around Your Finger, number 7. But then it starts to go a bit. Synchronicity, number 2, number 17. Not sure that's one that many people could remember. King of Pain, do remember that one, but that's number 17.
They're all bleak titles, aren't they?
Yeah, and I think they were still together as late as 86, but they just weren't. They have Don't Stand So Close to Me 86 in 1986, but I think that's partly to publicise a singles collection before.
Yes, I think that might be the singles collection I actually have. Thinking about it,
that's one I probably have. I guess that's sort of around the time when Sting's thinking of going solo, or has started going solo anyway. Anyway, I just wanted to look at. I thought we should, even though their number 1s also go into. Not that we have to talk about bands who only did well, who only got to number 1.
Well, it's just they're the ones you remember, to be frank, and and you know a little bit about because you may have bought their music.
I thought we'd move on to 1980 and see what was going on. But obviously, if we've talked about the bands before, then we won't necessarily.
They've already been crossed out with your big pen.
If I can remember, I know we start the year with Pink Floyd, Another Brick in the Wall. Still, we've definitely done them. I'm not sure if we've talked about the Pretenders.
Well, Pretenders, still like Pretenders. Every so often I toy with. There's a nice little collection of Pretenders stuff that I occasionally sort of click over or hover over on my clicking, but I keep resisting it. But I think I had the first 3 Pretenders albums on vinyl. So I would have been interested in them. I always remember the thing written on the back of them, which saying for best thing, play this album loud. Best performance, album loud.
They're still about in different versions, of course, but always with Chrissie Hynde. And
well, I mean, I probably had a bit of a thing about, at that age, I would have had a bit of a thing about people in tight leather trousers. I mean, it would have worked for me at that time.
Along with Susie Quattro, if I remember right.
I do have their Unplugged. I have their Unplugged CD. That's quite a nice, which is a really quite nice album. Occasionally, I do put that on. It's fond of the Pretenders.
I definitely had one of their previous album. I remember one of their albums in the last 5 years had some really good things on it. I've read Chrissie Hynde's autobiography, but it kind of finished really sort of before she started being famous, so or very early days. And I'm hoping she'll write another volume because I really enjoyed it. But so let's see. They sort of 1979 was when their first album came out.
Yeah.
But let's see. I mean, I think Brass and Pocket sort of. I don't think we would have discussed them before because their first singles were 79 and Brass and Pocket was their first big hit. Stop Your Sobbing and Kid were more minor hits, like number 34 and number 33. Stop Your Sobbing being a Kinks cover, of course.
But there was a weird sort of correlation, wasn't there, between the popular bands and popular culture. By this stage, you've got MTV starting, but you've got they would turn up these, the lead singers especially would turn up on things like the Kenny Everett Show or Spitting Image spoofed a Police song famously. But I remember Chrissie Hynde, I'm sure she turned up on the Kenny Everett Show a couple of times, doing a bit of acting, But there was the popular culture thing seemed to feed on pop music in that era, and songs like Brass in Pocket, I seem to remember I came to through them being on probably the Kenny Everett Show.
They did a good mix of more rocky numbers and yet more thoughtful
Hymn to Her is a beautiful song. I can, even now, I can sort of, you mention the Pretenders. I just think, that's just a beautiful song, and there was something kind of mournful about Chrissie Hynde's voice. I know some people really don't take to her at all or take to their music, but there's something kind of haunting about it, and I still like the Pretenders.
So after Brass in Pocket, we have Talk of the Town, number 8, Message of Love, number 11, I Go to Sleep, another Kinks cover in 81, goes to number 7. It's around the time
with Kink.
She was.
So there's a lot of cross-pollination there in many ways, but yeah, it's I Learning to Crawl, I think, was a fabulous album. I think that may be the first actual album of theirs I bought, and Middle of the Road, that stuff. It's just phenomenal. They were just a really good, tight, rock and roll band, really.
I mean, I Go to Sleep is definitely a very dreamy, ironically, or not ironically, or very appropriately, a very dreamy song. I can't work out. I'm looking at this chart position and I'm thinking, I can't believe it only got to this in 1982, Back on the Chain Gang, which, with any will in the world, is one of their most famous songs. But only got to number 17. I mean, that seems like it should have been number 1 or something, or certainly top.
Well, we know the public have no taste.
Yeah. 2,000 Miles, one of the few Christmassy sort of songs that I can listen to. Don't Get Me Wrong, 1986. Isn't that the video for that's very Avengers inspired?
Yes, that's right. Yes, it is. Yes, that's what. In fact, isn't Patrick Whitney actually in it?
Possibly.
Doesn't he drive the car or something in it?
Possibly. I mean, thank goodness, Hymn to Her got to number 8. That's actually did better than Don't Get Me Wrong, although I think probably Don't Get Me Wrong is still better known of those two.
Yes, I would say so.
But it's a gem. Thank goodness it actually. I still can't believe Back on the Chain Gang didn't do better.
Well, the thing is, if you mention the Pretenders now, that's probably the song people. If you were on Pointless, that wouldn't be the one to pick. That's probably the best known. I would say that would be the one that gets the sort of 47, where everything else might be 32 or 16 or something.
Yeah, I mean, Hymn to Her might be of the ones that actually did well. That might be one that less people know. But their last big hit was in 1994 with I'll Stand By You, which got to number 10, which actually had a second life because Girls Aloud did a cover in the
right,
and that got to number 1. So
also another band where there was illness and lineups changed and things, wasn't there, and what have you, and deaths and things.
But they keep going.
A bit like Shawaddy Waddy.
Just like
they keep going. It's Trigger's broom of bands,
Yeah. Specials. We could look at the Specials. We've not really looked at them, and of course Terry Hall has died. Incredibly
well regarded, Terry Hall. And funnily enough, when it happened, you were sort of thinking, will anybody else remember? But of course, he was very well thought of amongst musicians.
There was a band that Terry Hall was in. I mean, he was involved in a number of other bands, but he was in a band with Dave Stewart called Vegas in about the time I was at university, and I think they did a cover of She. I can't remember if that was the main single that they did, but they did one album, and I had it, and they seem to be largely forgotten. But so the Specials only released 2 albums in their first incarnation, but released other albums sort of since in the 90s and then the early noughties. Well, Too Much Too Young, that was number 1. That was 1980. That was an EP though.
You really are in my church disco era, really. I mean, it is funny because, like I say, you mentioned these titles, and I immediately remember them from that time when I was sitting sulking in a chair at the wall, sort of while everybody else danced, you know. But there we go.
Their first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or so singles are all top 10. Gangsters, number 6, that's 79. Message to You, Rudy, number 10. Rat Race, number 5. That's Rat Trap. I'm thinking of Boomtown Rats. Stereotype, number 6. Do Nothing, number 4. Ghost Town, of course.
What was the relationship though between them and the Fun Boy 3? I mean, the Fun Boy 3 were some sort of backing trio or something, because it just seemed to be a very the specials seem to be dozens of them, but or were these all spin-offs or?
I'm not sure who, other than Terry Hall. I'm not sure where the other guys came from. They had Free Nelson Mandela in 1984, number 9. But I don't know. I imagine things to change to the lineup. Oh, apparently, I just didn't want to type it in. I thought there must be a link on the page. Apparently, female backing vocalists on the special's first 2 studio albums include Chrissie Hynde.
Well, there we go. You see, everything's connected. All right.
Plus others. Oh, here we go. Fun Boy 3. They were okay.
They left the specials. Yes, I get it now.
They left the specials. Neville Staple and Linval Golding. They only released. They had 7 UK top 20 hits of their own. They released 2 albums. But I don't know if I know every single one of those big hits.
But it was kind of like a big club, was it? I mean, in some ways, we talk about our various cross-pollinations of our podcasts, but actually in some ways the specials and the Fun Boy 3 and Bananarama, all these, they seemed like they were just like spin-offs of spin-offs of spin-offs, really, because you've got the Selector as well, haven't you? They span off from the specials as well.
So we have Kenny Rogers with Coward of the County.
But again, it's interesting that, isn't it? Again, that sort of eclectic mix from the Pretenders, the Police, the Specials, and Kenny Rogers. Would that have been a film thing again, or was it? Or was it the sudden resurgence of country and western in the main chart? Seems surprising.
For some reason I can't even see it in. It's because it was released in very late 79 rather than 80. Right. It just seems to be on an album called Kenny. I think that they may have made a film using that title after it being. I know they've done that a few times. I think we probably may have talked about him because he had a number 1 song in 77 with Lucille. So I feel like we might have talked about Kenny then. He had another top 12 hit, Lady, in 1980. And then there's Islands in the Stream in 83, number 7. But apologies, Kenny, if we didn't talk about you in 77 when you did have a number 1. But I feel like we probably did. So Blondie has number 1 with Atomic in March.
Atomic. Now that's a song. I believe that people say a tune, but yes. But yes, I do like it. And of course, that became the basis of so many, nightclub extended 12-inch single dance floor mixes. I mean, but that beat, I think, has been sort of nicked, that sampled, whatever the expression is, just about all over the place. It's Atomic is a phenomenal piece of 80s tunefulness.
Following that, we have for 1 week we have Together We Are Beautiful by Fern Kinney, and now she's an American R&B and disco singer.
Right.
She's really a one-hit wonder. She did have another single called Groove Me,
right?
Which was a hit in some parts of America, but the only hit she had other singles, although she seems to have been around as early as 68 and then came back between 78 and 83. But
she's one of those people who did a lot of backing stuff and then they actually tried to, release a couple of singles with her or something like that.
Yeah,
that sort of thing going on.
Yes, it does say. It says she was a session musician and backing vocalist. Yeah, and she'd been in other bands, but sort of came out of nowhere a bit.
Fair enough.
As far as doing so well over. Because let me just check. I don't think. Let's see the charts again. Yeah, it doesn't even seem to have been a hit in America.
No.
She's she's more known.
No
for,
second chances, eh? That's it. Straight on the scrap.
She's more known for Groove Me in America, but even so, that wasn't a massive hit. On the dance chart, it was. But
Maybe that's, isn't it? You know.
Together We Are Beautiful was number 20 in Australia, and that's as high as. There's one other song, Let the Good Times Roll, in '81, that was 30 on the US dance chart, but I'm not 100% sure how much sway that particular chart has as far as being known beyond the people who buy things from that chart. You mentioned them earlier, but we're up to the Jam. They had a number one in March as well, March and April, Going Underground. But I think we definitely haven't looked at their whole career, so we should do that.
I think the Jam are interesting, Barry. Again, because I was, I've never been a sort of huge. But I was at school, and there were a lot of people who liked their heavy rock, and I sort of dabbled, Sort of was it like smoke but didn't inhale or whatever, and it's the same with punk. And yet the Jam have got such a good reputation, and I discovered them more or less at the time they were over, and again later on in life when you buy Snap or you buy one of their collections, you think I don't know any of this early stuff, and then you realise how familiar a lot of it is. So stuff like Down in the Tube Station at Midnight and all that kind of thing becomes a much more part of your DNA, even though you weren't there at the time. I mean, I've worked with people who were massive Jam fans. I mean, to the point at which they would get a ride on the tour bus. They would they get given a lift if they'd been abandoned after concerts and what have you, or they would hassle their way onto tour buses. And phenomenally huge Jam fans. I was never, like a lot of acts, I was always a bit of a sort of latecomer. The boat has been missed by the time. If I've heard of it, they must be on the way out. I think that's the simplest kind of thing.
They had a very gradual rise, it appears. Their first two albums, because they go back as far as, I'm sure they go back even further than this, but they go back to 77 for their first album.
But that's 77 is that era when this idea of punk was that any idiot could pick up a guitar or play some drums. They didn't have to actually be able to play them to perform. And an act like the Jam, which was three very accomplished musicians, kind of probably got lost in the noise. But they're the good ones, the ones that people will go and pay and see in nightclubs, pubs, whatever, wherever they're playing, are the ones that have the persistence and keep going. And so they were eventually destined to emerge from the melee, as it were. But the Jam were a cracking three-piece combo.
The first two albums they were sort of in the top 20, and then their next three albums were all top 10. And
are we in the era when things were played a lot on things like the John Peel radio show, and that's how we really heard of them, because that early stuff, when I play it, I think, oh yeah, I don't know how I missed that, but people knew it. But it's familiar, but it wasn't massively, it wasn't Top of the Pops familiar, it was zeitgeist familiar, if you see what I mean. And it really, by the time they're sort of, their Beat Surrender and all, and those later tracks were sort of being pulsed out on mainstream things like Top of the Pops, and everybody knew who they were. You were sort of thinking, oh, I don't really know their early stuff,
Didn't they? Because their final album, The Gift, got to number one, and I got the feeling that
didn't it actually open at number one? It was one of those.
Yeah, previous album had come in at number two. I feel like they sort of announced they were splitting with, like by the end of 1982, we will be splitting or something like that, and so it was sort of had a bit of emotion to it, sort of thing. Was it the light that burns twice as bright burns half as long, or something like that? But they went out on an absolute high. The thing is, I definitely more of a fan of the Jam. Never really clicked with Style Council at all. It was a totally different style of music, I suppose. Well, that's the thing. I mean, basically, the Jam are hard and urban, and real proper driving beat. They are rock when all's said and done. If you like your sort of your basic rhythm section to be heavy, the Jam is what you want, and the pace of some of those riffs and some of the tunes are just the rhythm of them is the speed of it is incredible. So Style Council is a bit after that, just feels a bit weirdly I always get them mixed up with the House Martins, oddly. Of all things, I feel they sort of feel in the same sort of hippies sitting in fields, I suppose. Yeah. The singles, the singles sort of mirror what I was saying about the albums. So the first single was In the City in number 40 in 77, All Around the World 13, The Modern World 36, News of the World 27. This is the Modern World. I mean, that's the one that I think feels like the breakthrough one when you put the greatest hits on. The ones before that, you think, oh yeah, that was the one I first heard. But it didn't do miraculously well in the charts. News of the World 27, David Watts 25, Down the Tube Station at Midnight 15, Strange Town 15, When You're Young 17, and then we're starting to do a bit better around towards the end of 79 with Eton Rifles number 3, Going Underground number 1, Start number 1. That's Entertainment number 21. Now That's Entertainment, I think I possibly knew, and I'm not sure I don't prefer this cover version. When I was at university, my friend Kerry was mad on the Wonder Stuff. Right. They did a really good version of That's Entertainment, and I was familiar with that. And I feel like Miles Hunt really gave it some welly, whereas Paul Weller it was almost like it was a melancholy song. Yeah, it was really. It was more. I mean, maybe that's how he wanted it. Ironic, yeah, as a sort of almost sarcastic, whereas perhaps Miles Hunt didn't took it literally that way. Yeah, but because it's the first version I heard, which is often the way. Yeah, I was only 20 or whatever. I really liked the Wonder Stuff version, but then we have more top 10 hits. Funeral Pyre number 4, Absolute Beginners number 4, Town Called Malice number 1, Just Who Is the 5 O'Clock Hero number 8, The Bitterest Pill number 2, and then Beat Surrender, the final single, number 1. I really like Funeral Pyre. Again, I suspect just the driving rhythm of that, just that again sort of sits alongside. I said about Atomic earlier. There's these kind of dance floor. I mean, I was never a dancer. I was never drawn to it, but those dance floor fillers, that real sort of driving, throbbing rhythm. It's just something about. There are certain tracks like that from that time. Powerful stuff. Even Right Rifles. Eton Rifles again kind of feels mainstream, but I don't really feel that the Jam were ever likely to turn up on Blue Peter doing their latest hit, were they? It was they felt a little bit left field, and they felt a little bit on the edges, really. But powerful stuff, and like I say, very amazingly powerfully urban. Wasn't some of our great and good politicians who went to Eton, when they quoted as saying that they liked, or at least one of them might have said they liked Eton Rifles, but you suspect they only liked it because it had the word Eton in. They were Eton.
Yeah, they're hardwired to anything. Eden's marvellous, 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 yes, marvellous, marvellous. What's that about lining us all up against the wall? No, I don't know what that's all about, but marvellous. Eden, marvellous. Oh, I'm so glad, so glad.
Our next number one is "Working My Way Back to You" by the Detroit Spinners.
Wow.
I don't know much
see,
about
that feels like, well, yeah, but I know the song, and that suddenly feels like, oh, disco's back.
Yeah.
That does feel like a throwback to the 70s, doesn't it? Yeah. Weirdly, just out of the blue there, and again, perfectly popular, perfectly happy song. Yeah.
They've been around since 1954. They currently still exist.
Wow.
A version of them do.
Another Triggers Brew job, is it?
Well, yeah, because not the longest serving members of the group these days started in 2009.
Oh, so dead,
there's no original members. But
I'm getting better.
I was going to see what songs they might be known for in the UK. It's a Shame, number 20. Could It Be I'm Falling in Love, 1972, number 11 in the UK. Isn't that Could It Be I'm Falling in Love? Maybe.
Oh my God, yes, there we go. Yeah. Was it there for a second?
Ghetto Child, number 7. Mighty Love, 33. Then Came You with Diane Warwick.
I think your version was the cover version by some boy band from the 2000s. That I'm convinced.
Yeah, that does sound like that could be right. The Rubber Band Man, number 16.
Wow.
Cupid, 1980, number 4. Yeah, so they had a follow-up that also did pretty well.
These bands were around for a long time.
We've got Blondie next with Call Me. And then we should look at the next band. We've got Gino by Dexy's Midnight Runners.
Oh dear.
Not a fan.
I probably was at the time. I don't know. I suspect it's the fashion that I remember more than anything now. And of course there was that whole Jockey Wilson said, wasn't there?
Yes. Yeah. I think Gino is probably my favourite of their big hits.
It was that again. If you watched, I've been watching recently quite a lot of the Waltons. so the bib overall thing is kind of it's an odd connection in my mind. But Jim Bob particularly tends to walk around in them without a shirt under it. So there are very few pop acts I feel that have been influenced by Jim Bob off the Waltons. For their fashion choices, but I don't know. They sort of felt like they were very again trying to be urban and everything. But I felt in some ways they felt like they were trying a bit hard.
They're only just really starting out. Gino is their first. Well, it's their first hit. Their first single, "Dance Dance," in 79.
Wherever you may be, I am the Lord of the Dance, said he. Not that one. No,
not that one. That got to number 40. Then you got Gino. Then you got There, My Dear, number 7, which I don't know that I could sing it without prompting.
Well, we're all grateful for these small mercies.
But there's a single that was only released in France called "Thankfully, Not Living in Yorkshire, It Doesn't Apply."
Right.
I don't know what that one is. I've never listened to an album of theirs.
That'll be a very clever lyric. That works very well in translation from Yorkshire.
There's a single in 81 called Show Me that got to number 16.
Oh, right, okay.
Come On Eileen in 82, number 1. Jackie Wilson Said in 82, number 5.
No, it's definitely Jockey Wilson. I saw the picture on the wall.
Yes. We should probably briefly explain to listeners who don't know. They appeared, when they appeared on Top of the Pops, they were singing Jackie Wilson Said, Jackie Wilson being a singer, that they
accidentally, quotes, projected a picture of the famous dart player, the Geordie Jockey Wilson, upon the screen behind them. It's hilarious. I don't know if someone was just taking the pee that day, but it's hilarious. And of course, that's what we're all singing at home anyway, so it probably makes sense.
After that single, they did have one called Let's Get This Straight from the Start, number 17. And then weirdly, their last sort of hit was Because of You, 1986, number 13. That was the theme from Brushstrokes.
Yes, it would have been. That was them, was it? I always assumed that was a cover. Yeah.
But I wasn't attached to any album. That was the last single they released for many years.
Well, I mean, they were dressed for the painting and decorating. Oh, it's so terrible. If that's not going into Wogan territory, I don't know what is.
They did have their third album. They tried a different image again. They had different images for the. I don't know how you describe the images really, because there was two. There was sort of two with the one for each album. And then the third album, they was dressed in suits and looking completely different. But I don't think that album had any big hits on. The album Don't Stand Me Down. I hear that it's sort of, it's one of those albums that's sort of like a lost album that people say good things about, but it wasn't a hit at the time. But
what's his name? The front man, the guy with the hair.
Kevin Rowland.
He had quite the career, didn't he? As a solo act. I mean, it wasn't.
He refused to do publicity for that third album, which wouldn't have helped. But too long on the next song. We got What's Another Year by Johnny Logan.
Oh dear God.
That was a Eurovision Song Contest entry.
The saccharin is already dissolving my teeth.
Exactly. I'm not sure
what's left of them.
I'm not sure we can stay for too long. Let's just have a look at those hits. What's Another Year, 1980, number 1, and also the winner. And then Hold Me Now in 87 got to number 2 in the charts. And that he has released a lot of singles.
That's not the Human League. Hold Me Now, is it? Was it the Human League?
Tell Me When.
Or was it? No, who was it? Or was it?
Oh, it's Thompson Twins.
Thompson Twins. Yeah, Hold Me Now. That wasn't the same?
No, there's a lot of. They used to be very good, Thompson Twins, because they on the cassette tapes. When I sort of got into them long after they'd split up, I got tapes of theirs from a junk shop, and you discovered that on the B side of the whole album would be on one side of the tape, and on the B side would be remixes of each of the tracks with slightly different names, but you got almost 2 albums for every release. It was rather good.
It's like the Light Twin. There's a light side, dark side. Oh, it's all very yin and yang. Wow, it's probably deep and meaningful, but wonderful.
Johnny Logan has released a lot of singles, but the only 2 that have done well are the 2 Eurovision ones. Actually, there's a lot of no chart positions even in his home country of Ireland. But
he was who they were taking they were targeting in that famous Father Ted episode, wasn't it, with the little old ladies? It was Johnny Logan. Okay.
Yeah. Although he did have a top 3 hit as recently as 2013 with Praying,
Right.
only in Ireland.
Praying, did you say?
Praying, and it's spelled without the G. Yes, it's I-N apostrophe.
I see. Yes.
He can't. He's praying. We can't bother to spell it properly. Or
worshipping. I see. Religion. Right.
We have. You were talking about MASH earlier.
Oh.
Or was that on the other? Or was that on the other? Was that on the other show? We've been listeners. We've been doing a Vision on Sound today. We mentioned MASH. The theme "Suicide is Painless" theme from MASH.
Suddenly made a resurgence in for no very good reason. And
that's presumably the actual version that was on the show.
The film. It's from the film.
Oh, the
film.
film.
I think so. Yeah.
Because Manic Street Preachers did a version about 10 years later, and that was a hit when they did it as well.
I think it's generally an instrumental on the TV show. I can't say for absolute certain that it didn't pop up at some point in it, but the song I believe came from the Robert Altman movie, which is a very good movie and worth tracking down. Although it does basically tell the entire story of the Korean War in a 2-hour film that it then took them 11 years. It's only a 2.5-year incident, police action, if you like. But it actually, 11 seasons, they had more Christmases than is possible to fit into this time. But, that's television for you. Good show.
Next number one we have is... I don't think we've discussed him before. We won't spend too long on him, but we've got Don McLean with "Crying," and previous hits he'd had been "American Pie" and "Vincent." Vincent had been a number one in '72, but I don't think we were talking about music in this format back when we did '72. I don't know.
Chevy to the levee.
And he had other singles. But actually, most of them weren't hits anywhere, or they were minor hits, even in his home country. Any other hits he had, like he managed to get a number 12 with American Pie again as late as
it's one of those. It sort of gets rediscovered, doesn't it? I mean, the single I have of it is, it's actually split. It's such a long song. It's 2 sides of a 7-inch single. So, but at least being able to get the full track in one version in the CD era was probably a bit of a selling.
It got to number 12 in '91 in the UK. That was a greatest hits. Olivia Newton-John and the Electric Light Orchestra.
Oh, right. Together?
Yes, doing Xanadu.
Oh, of course.
I can't remember if we've talked about Electric Light Orchestra. I think maybe we haven't because they haven't actually had a number one until this point. Well, let's look at each of them. So, looking at Electric Light Orchestra first, I do have quite a lot of ELO albums. I went through I don't know if it was because after I did read. I was very keen on the Beatles, and after I got into the Beatles in the '80s, I did read how John Lennon had sort of said that ELO was
their natural
sort of successors. Yeah,
and of course, at least one of ELO became a Wilbury, so there would have been that connection with Harrison as well.
And I think Jeff Lynne sort of may have produced the. That when they came back and did those 2 singles, the remaining Beatles in the '90s. So, and Jeff Lynne's.
When they talk about the man we no longer can mention and his wall of sound, I feel that ELO were kind of the British equivalent. The sound quality on things like Mr. Blue Sky is just the sheer enormousness of that musical ambition in those things is phenomenal.
Yeah. I mean, I think Jeff Lynne was probably quite a fan of the Beatles himself, and of course, later on in his life, producing.
Did he work with George Martin at all?
I think he could well have done if he was involved in that 1995 Beatles reunion or three quarters reunion. Yeah, he definitely worked with George Harrison on solo stuff and probably others of the Beatles. Anyway, early Electric Light Orchestra was one of the projects of
Roy Wood, was it?
Roy Wood. And Roy Wood was in the band called The Move, and in the final lineup of The Move, Jeff Lynne joined, and I think that's probably how it sort of. But then Roy Wood didn't stay with Electric Light Orchestra.
No.
But they had hits from sort of the word go. I don't know how you pronounce this really. 10538 Overture. Do you supposed to say that at 10,538? I'm not sure. I've never heard anyone pronounce.
However, I mean, the Yes album 90125. I always call 90125. I don't call it 90,105.
Yeah. Well, that got to number 9 in 1972. Well over Beethoven, which was a cover of a Chuck Berry song from 1956. Got to number 6, and then we have Showdown, number 12, Mama Ma Belle, number 22. These aren't necessarily the songs that a lot of people remember of theirs, or some of these other ones. But by 75, you've got Evil Woman, number 10. Which I love that song. Strange Magic, number 38, Living Thing, number 4, Rock Aria, number 9, Telephone Line, number 8, Turn to Stone, 18. I can't believe Turn to Stone didn't do better than 18. That must have been like it was...
No musical taste, that's what it was.
That is kind of bizarre, because that's the first single off a new album, and it's got to number 18. And it's hardly like an obscure sort of... it's very.
Sometimes things don't hit at the time, and then people find them later on, but not in enough numbers to make it a sort of big hit. But they become album hits, really. Some people just they like album tracks, and they don't realize something was ever released in any other form. If you see what I mean.
Now this is interesting, because I would say out of the two, they have it. I don't know exactly the difference in sales, but they both had the same chart position.
Yes.
You wouldn't necessarily think that Mr. Blue Sky would and Wild West Hero would have the same chart position. I don't think that Wild West Hero would be one of the top 5 singles that the general public would remember of ELO. Although I really like Wild West Hero. It is one of my favourite, but partly because it was a less well-known one when I got it. I did actually get to a stage of buying their albums, and I think I have most of their. I don't think I got some of the earlier, the really early ones, because I think I kind of liked the mid-70s onwards into the 80s albums best. Sweet Talking Woman, that's actually all those 3. So yeah, Mr. Blue Sky, Wild West Hero, Sweet Talking Woman, and Shine a Little Love, all got number 6, and yet. That I would say that Wild West Hero was definitely the odd one out in that one as far as being well known. The Diary of Horace Wimp, number 8, or Don't Bring Me Down, number 3.
But sometimes they just really do just get found later, a lot of these things, and they're all. I mean, now you think of them as all of them as stone cold solid, tunes, but. The time other stuff was going on, and other things were, drawing the limelight,
Confusion, that's another favourite of mine. Those are from the Discovery album, and then they did have some songs in the Xanadu soundtrack. I've never seen it in Xanadu, so
that surprises me.
Yeah, I don't know, it just hasn't come my way.
Is it just difficult to get hold of?
I don't know. I'm sure I could get it if I just hasn't happened yet.
You'll probably a couple of quid from an Oxfam shop. You'll probably you just have to be lucky on the day.
That they do go on through the 80s, but with less and less success. And I think their album Secret Messages wasn't even released in the UK at the time. Right. But there's an album that is like one of my favourite albums of all time. Is by ELO, and it's from 1981, and it's called Time, and it's a concept album about. And the only real hit on it is Hold On Tight, which was a sort of rock and rolly type one. But it's just I just love every single track. Is great.
It's on your Spotify playlist.
Yeah, there's a song called Twilight, which was a single I didn't do too well. Here is the News, Ticket to the Moon.
Does that play in your headphones when you're going on the bus and things? Is it one you go back to a lot then?
When I go back to quite a lot, it's definitely one of my favourite albums. And I've seen actually, I'm not the only person. I've seen it mentioned a few times by people. It's popular amongst the cool set.
Fair enough.
But yeah, and of course ELO go on to be, split off into different sort of ELO 2, and it gets a bit complicated, but. I'd like to have a look at Olivia whilst we are here. Now, she
she went from that Girl Next Door thing, didn't she? And then I do you feel parallels with Kylie?
Yeah, probably. I mean, she did very well, and she did continue her career, but she didn't have the same run of hits as Kylie had. But she was definitely she led the way for, she died last August 2022. Then I think she'd been ill for quite a long time, so kind of, although it was obviously very sad, but I guess I wasn't that surprised because there wasn't a few months go by where I didn't see something about her health not being good or in the last few years. My dad had a lot of, I guess they were compilations rather than whole albums. A lot of her early 70s stuff are cover versions, often of that
was what recording careers were back then.
Yeah,
wasn't it? It's not. We're not. Lulu didn't write her own songs, did she?
Yeah,
the same kind of thing, really.
And I forget. She's got a filmography here, which has a good
several movies.
Yeah, several movies, and Xanadu being one of them. But and Grease, of course.
Yes.
But I mean, I'm very fond of those early albums where she's covering things like Bob Dylan songs and George Harrison songs. If Not For You, that she covers all the good songs of the early 70s and often does the best versions. There's definitely a lot of her versions that I just love her voice. Let's see what her actual hits were. Yeah, If Not For You was number 7 in 71, and The Banks of the Ohio also in 71, number 6. What Is Life, number 16. That was a George Harrison cover. Take Me Home, Country Roads, number 15, 73. Long Live Love, number 11. Now, she was our Eurovision Song Contest. She was the British entrant to the Eurovision Song Contest the year that ABBA won.
Is that the earliest sniff of Australia in the tournament?
Yeah, well, I'm not so much of an expert I could answer that, but certainly it's before Australia actually became official
members of Europe. Joined the EU just as we left.
Then in 77, I mean, there are other singles going on, there are other albums being released, but she has a single called Sam, number 6. Then we're into the Grease era with number 1s for You're the One That I Want. I mean, just make me wonder if we haven't talked about it before, considering we've got Hopelessly Devoted to You, Summer Nights.
Maybe.
Apologies if we have talked about it before, but you can never talk about Olivia too much.
And of course, from where we started, this was long time, at least a friend of Cliff Richard.
Yes, yeah. A Little More Love, number 3. She got into a stage where she was getting higher chart positions in America sometimes, and she was a bit like Sheena Easton. She had hits in America that weren't hits in the UK, and some I'm kind of like, well,
she went through a bit of a raunchy phase in the days. I mean, I know there was a lot of, should we say, people doing exercise on the television, but physical is kind of like it's almost like the anthem of that, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, and Sheena Easton was doing. You always wonder if there wasn't they were almost treading on the same ground. I guess Olivia was kind of there first when Sheena Easton was still more UK act. But then Olivia started sort of being less successful. But you've got Xanadu, Physical, number 7, and there are other tracks like Heart Attack, which are very very catchy, but not
huge
hits. I think. But then a lot of the Sheena Easton songs weren't big hits. The ones that are big hits in America weren't necessarily big hits at home. There's one that I heard on a podcast a few years ago, which has become a perennial favourite. And I'm sorry, Olivia, we've moved on to Sheena very briefly, but there's a single by Sheena Easton called Strut that I just can't understand why that wasn't a hit in the UK. It's just so catchy. And
I think you've got to understand, to a certain extent, the music industry in Britain is a very fickle beast, and actually if somebody is suddenly deemed uncool or a bit manufactured, people won't buy them, even if it's a good song. They just say, I'm not buying that. That's the sort of music my mum would buy, or my grandma might buy. So it is kind of it's kind of weird. If suddenly somebody goes out of fashion, they really can go massively out of fashion. Certainly in the British charts. I mean, sometimes some of the other countries are a little bit more forgiving, but we basically, we're always looking for the next big thing. I mean, this is why shows like Britain's Got Talent and what have you seem to produce these people who are around for a year and then there's next big thing comes along. There's a lot of that. There really is a lot of that. There's inbuilt prejudices, really. I
think that's happening a lot quite now. You sometimes I find a song that or a singer that I like that's relatively new now. You look back onto their discography and they might have had one hit 5 years ago, and then everything else has been, including the song that you like, have been flops. And you think, I don't know, why is that? I don't understand. Coming to the end of the show, but we'll get to the end of the year because most of the acts that are coming up we've talked about before, one or two we haven't are probably one-hit wonders. I don't think the next group are necessarily one-hit wonders, but we've got Use It Up and Wear It Out by Odyssey. I'm sure they must have had other hits. In fact, they're still around today, apparently. Wow. Native New Yorker was a big hit for them in 1977. If You're Looking for a Way Out was the big hit, number 6, after Use It Up and Wear It Out. Going Back to My Roots, number 4 in 1981. Inside Out, number 3 in 1982. I'm a bit confused about that one because didn't Diana Ross have a song with a similar title? So I'm not. May well have been the same song. I have to go and research to. But yeah, I mean, they definitely weren't one-hit wonders. Our next number 1 is The Winner Takes It All by ABBA, one of my favourites. But I'm pretty sure we've discussed ABBA before now.
Yeah, I did find. Well, no, I didn't, because I didn't actually watch all of it, but I did actually see the sequel to Mamma Mia. I saw about 10 minutes of it the other day. Some of the songs on there are not good versions.
No. Following The Winner Takes It All, another good. Sometimes you have a song you like, and then you see what knocked it off the top spot, and you think, "How dear, how." The Winner Takes It All was number 1 for 2 weeks and was knocked off the top spot by Ashes to Ashes by David Bowie. I think I like both of those songs equally. So I can accept that. Yeah. Then we have Start by the Jam.
The universe seems right with that.
Yeah. That's at number 1 for 2 weeks. Then the Jam with Start knocks David Bowie off. Then, but I don't know, the act that knocks the Jam off is Kelly Marie with Feels Like I'm in Love. I'm not sure.
What time of year would that have been?
I think we're talking sort of early autumn.
Summer hit, innit?
Yeah, it could have been around September, but it could have been around for a while. I'm just trying to see if she had any other hits. She did have other singles. They weren't massive.
Summertime Special or Seaside Special had a lot to answer for.
Loving Just for Fun, number 21. Hot Love at 22.
Hot Love.
I don't know whether Hot Love is a cover of another song called Hot Love. But then the Police knock Kelly Marie off the top spot with Don't Stand So Close to Me for 4 weeks. Then Barbara Streisand knocks off the Police with Woman in Love. Yes, Woman in Love.
That must have been a film tie-in, mustn't it? Streisand, surely.
I don't think we've talked a lot about Barbara Streisand, but I don't know that. I'll just dip in. I don't know if she's had as many hits as she might have had in the States. Of course, she's got her acting career as well with things like Funny Girl, Hello Dolly, and Star Is Born. I didn't realize. I think Funny Girl I really like. I didn't realize there was a sequel called Funny Lady.
Well, you'll be seeking out that this very weekend.
Okay? Yeah. Let me just have a quick look and see. I'm sure she's done. She's one of those people who's very, very popular, but I just don't think. I think she's very rarely entered my sort of area of interest. The type of music she does
musically.
I think.
The old power ballads.
Yeah, I mean,
tunes. Yeah, I know what you mean.
I like some power ballads from the 80s, but I'm very selective. And I think I like, I probably like her acting more. She had Secondhand Rose in 1965 in the UK, number 14. She had Stony End in 1970, 27.
Stony End. Hey, welcome to Stony End. That's a lovely little village.
She had Evergreen, which comes from Star Is Born. Right. You Don't Bring Me Flowers, number 5. No More Tears, Enough Is Enough with Donna Summer in 3. I can get into that. Woman in Love, and then lots of other singles.
With Chris Christopherson.
There's a couple of top 10 hits. I Finally Found Someone with Bryan Adams in 96, number 10. And Tell Him with Celine Dion, number 3.
Fair enough.
But largely the singles aren't really doing miraculously well. But she's about.
Yes.
But then she's got more than one string to her bow. So we've just got 4 more.
Okay.
But we have kind of talked about all of these, so we're quite quick. We've got Blondie with The Tide Is High. We've got ABBA with their last number 1, Super Trooper. We've got John Lennon with Just Like Starting Over, but that's partly because of
what happened in December.
We haven't really talked about John Lennon's solo career, but I don't think we will this time. Maybe when we.
Imagine will be in 1981. So
we'll talk about them then. And then I really don't think we want to talk about the last song of. It's amazing, really, that John Lennon got knocked off the top so quickly, because the next week we've got There's No One Quite Like Grandma by St Winifred's School Choir.
Just up the road. There we go.
So what I might do is we'll say goodbye. Listeners, thanks for joining us, and I hope you'll join us again when we go further into the 80s, looking at more across the board. We have we have talked about songs from the 80s before, but not quite as in depth about the whole careers. Anyway, Martin, thank you very much.
Always a pleasure, Paul.
And we'll be back very briefly just to let you know some of the names we'll be talking about in 81. But I'm afraid there'll be no Ig singing this time. But
bless him.
What can we do? Anyway, goodbye for now. Bye
bye. Bye bye. Bye bye now.
So in 81, I wonder who we'll be talking about. You're right. We will talk about John Lennon again, so we'll give him a better look then. We've got people like Joe Dolce, but I don't think there'll be a great deal. There might be. We've got people like Shaking Stevens. Now, Shaking Stevens, I've actually, there's a song that my flatmate sent to me from an album that he's done this year, and I was kind of like, oh yeah, it's going to be, and I was really shocked. It's a really good song. So
anyone can surprise you, Paul.
I know. We've got people like Bucks Fizz and Adam and the Ants. I'll enjoy talking about them. Smokey Robinson, Michael Jackson, Anika.
Give me white striped makeup on.
Yes. For me. Anika singing about Japanese Boy. Again, I doubt there'll be that much to talk about. Soft Cell, It's My Party by Dave Stewart and Barbara Gaskin. We've got Queen and David Bowie. We've got Julian Iglesias, and we've also got the Human League. So I think we've got some quality. We've got some
quality tunes coming up in the next edition.
And not even a sign yet of Duran Duran, although they are about in 81, but not at number one. But yeah, so yes.
So that's the end, right? Okay, well, thank you very much for having me aboard once again, Paul. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, and because my musical knowledge is paltry, and yet somehow we still manage to fill the time, which is always fascinating.
When you say it's paltry, do you mean like the chicken song?
Oh yes, the chicken song. Yes, songs about fish and birds.
Or like the Muppet Show chickens doing songs.
Food tunes. There's a whole episode we've not done yet.
Yeah. There's lots of potential, but
I shall go and wave a chicken in the air. So thank you very much.
I gotta go now. Bye. Gotta go. Bye.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Wow. Really? No kidding.
Thank you, darling. And you too. Bye-bye. How beautifully done.
You can always call me.
Oh, that sounded good.
This show is part of the Pride 48 network. Find more shows over at pride48.com.
Oh dear, what's going on now? Oh, it's the Shy Life podcast.
Let's go.
I have a voice.
I have a voice.
You have a voice.
You have a voice.
We have a voice.
We have a voice.
Unique voices in podcasting.
UnivazPods.net.
That is so cringe, oh my god. You're a man of culture as well.
Oh dear. Have a look. There, yes. Paul? Oh, sorry, Comedy, sorry, I'm just listening to some editing. Paul, have you been recording again with Martin? Yes, Martin Holmes. Yes, sorry. How did it go? Was it another music episode? Was another music episode, yes. We finished talking about 1979 and then we moved on to 1980. And, yeah. Oh, yes. I've listened to many of your episodes that you've done together about this period, but you're definitely lacking something, isn't it? Lacking something? You think? Well, no, I mean, you and Martin still do very well. I don't dispute that, but it does miss something not having Ig, in the background, doing his singing. Oh, I know, but, well, he's just not available to do it at the moment, is he? Hopefully soon. Hopefully soon, Paul. Hopefully he'll return one day. Oh, I mean, you could always sing. I think we've tried that, and it doesn't really work. Martin and I have tried to duet even, and it's just not what the listeners are looking for. Yes, I can understand that. Well, perhaps by the time you do another episode, Ig will finally have returned. Yeah, well, it's as you say, been a very long time, and yeah, those months are stretching on by, and I do hope he comes back. Yes, I mean his singing wasn't perfect, but at least it added a certain something to these musical episodes. It most certainly did, Cromitty, yes, it most certainly did. But until he returns, we'll just have to wait, and maybe whistle the tunes in our heads or something, or jump onto YouTube. Oh, yes, that's a good idea. Why didn't I think of that? Oh, you are quite clever. Thanks, Cromitty. Thank you. I just can't seem to help myself. It just comes naturally. Oh, it's so modest as well. I know. Almost as modest as your Uncle John. Oh, Paul. Well, oh, careful, he'll hear what you're saying about him. Oh, golly. Did somebody call my name? No, yet, Uncle John? No, not at all. Oh, well, it's about time someone did. You're okay, yet, Uncle John. You're fine. Yes, you're not needed. Oh, charming.
This is just the weirdest thing I've ever heard. Well, gotta tell you, I didn't expect that.
What the hell just happened on this show? I mean, seriously, reverse it, because I lost... What's going on? What happened?
Man, was that worth it or not? Oh my goodness, that was a darling little shoe. Whoa, I love that one. Ha, great show, Paul. Yeah, that was a good shoe.
I'm going to have some orange squash now. It's an exciting life.
Et voilà.
Oi, oi, that's your lot. Bye.
Well, everyone's a critic.
Oh my god, that's so funny. Oh my god, yes. Why didn't I think of that? Oh my god, you're so cool. You're like the coolest Yeti I've ever met.
Should I turn off the recording?
Okay, stopping recording now.
Very cool.